Yo, what's up guys? In this video, we're gonna be doing a first ride on-road and highway test of this beautiful 2023 Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. Let's jump into it.
All right, folks, we are aboard the 2023 Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak for a on-road and highway first ride. This is a true 100% first ride. I have never ridden this bike. So, a little background on the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak Edition. This bike came out in 2022. It is the highest performance, most sport-oriented version of the Multistrada V4, and the biggest characteristic that defines this bike is the wheel set. So instead of the 19-inch front wheel and 18-inch rear wheel that you would find on the Multistrada V4S, this bike has a 17-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear wheel. So this is a really special year for the Ducati Multistrada. It has just reached its 20th anniversary of production. Back in 2003, Ducati introduced the Multistrada 1000, which was an air-cooled 1000 motor bike that Ducati dubbed 4 bikes in one. It was meant to be a sport bike, touring bike, urban bike, and enduro. And so when the Multistrada V4 first came out in 2021, I did a first ride on that. In the video, I gave it a glowing review, but I have to admit, my initial reaction to the bike was that it didn't feel like a true Multistrada because of the larger gas tank, larger front wheel, heavier nature of the motorcycle. It felt more like a BMW GS or more of a heavyweight adventure touring or enduro touring and less of a sport touring motorcycle. And really, to me, the bike lost one of its most defining characteristics, which was, you know, the sport aspect of the Multistrada. To me, the Multistrada has always been basically a super bike on stilts. High performance engine, really good suspension, really good brakes, but with longer suspension travel and more of an upright riding position suitable for a little bit of off-road or standing up. So to be honest, I really didn't like the handling of the new Multistrada V4. I thought it had lost what it had always been, what it had meant to be, which was a capital S sport touring bike. You know, the engine was fantastic. I love the dash, I love the electronics, but really that 19-inch front wheel and that 18-inch rear wheel just took away from what I was used to from the Multistrada family. And so finally, Ducati comes out with the new V4 Multistrada with the 17-inch front and rear wheel set, coming back to their roots, something that they've been doing for 20 years with this sport-focused touring bike. And so my immediate reactions are, you know, upon getting on this, is that it feels a lot more nimble, and just having that 17-inch front wheel makes it feel a lot more flickable when you go to change direction. Another big difference between the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak and the Multistrada V4 is the suspension setup. So the suspension on the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak is more like the Panigale V4 or the Street Fighter V4 in that it uses Öhlins active electronic suspension versus the Ducati Skyhook suspension, which I believe is from Sachs. And so effectively what you get is a suspension setup that's more suitable for aggressive street riding, for track day use, something that's going to give you more grip for use in a high performance application. And just like on the Panigale V4, this suspension is an event-based active electronic suspension, so under braking it'll detect that braking event and keep the front end from diving. Under acceleration it'll sense that rear shock compression event and it'll prevent the rear suspension from sagging. So effectively it smooths out the ride quite a bit, and honestly it feels a lot tighter too. Like compared to the Multistrada V4, this suspension like is obviously a lot more stiff, less plush, more focused on being able to charge into a corner and carry a lot of speed on a corner exit without a lot of suspension movement forward or back. So those are the two big things about the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak, the wheel set and the suspension. But beyond that, there's a ton of added electronic features and other components on this bike, ergonomic differences that set it apart from the Multistrada V4. So from an ergonomic standpoint, the handlebar on the Multistrada Pikes Peak is a little bit lower and a little bit narrower compared to the handlebar on the Multistrada V4, which gives you a little bit more tucked in riding position and allows for, you know, a more sport riding rider triangle, so that when you're hanging off the bike and moving around, you're a little bit more tucked in like you would be on a sport bike. And from an electronic standpoint, Ducati has added riding mode specific for this Multistrada Pikes Peak, and that is the race riding mode. So we're about to go over the floating bridge. I'm going to pop it into that race riding mode right now. So you just tap the mode button here, go up to race, and select it, close the throttle. Okay, so now we are in the highest power setting, the new race map on the Multistrada Pikes Peak. I'm going to drop it into third gear and do a rolling drag just to see how it feels. I can tell immediately too that with the 17-inch wheel set, the bike sits quite a bit lower. I feel a lot more comfortable putting my feet down on this bike. I'm 5'11", I've got a 30-inch inseam, and on the Multistrada V4S Touring, I was on the tippy toes and balls of my feet. Were on this bike, I'm just about flat footing it, which is a lot more confidence inspiring for me. And I think, you know, I think a lot of people are going to find this bike to be a lot easier to manage. So we are popping off the freeway now, and we're going to take this bike through a little bit of a urban twisty section. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh man, immediately this bike changes directions so quickly. It's crazy. Just that little left right there felt super effortless. Oh boy. It definitely feels a lot less like you have to force the bike into the corner. It just wants the corner. It just wants to dive into the corner a lot more. And it's all thanks to that 17-inch front wheel. This feels like the Multistrada 1260 from a handling characteristic, but the power delivery is just so much smoother. It doesn't have that angry low end torque that can be a little bit unruly sometimes. Like, it's still really fast and capable, but the way it builds power is a lot more smooth. It's less raw, it's less, you know, visceral, and just, you don't feel like you're getting rear-ended by a bus, is what I mean to say. Which for a lot of Ducati owners, they love that. They need that insanity low-end torque. And this bike still has a abundance of power. Like, it's not at all on power. True corners. Oh yeah, that felt super good. We'll hang off the bike a little bit, get some body positioning going. I can definitely feel that the lower set handlebars make this bike a lot better for moving around on the bike. It just feels a lot more appropriate for, you know, this sport street riding type of riding. All right, we're a little bit lugging in third. I'm gonna quick shift down in a second. Now this bike has a lean angle sensitive quick shifter, so it's going to apply the quick shift in a way that is optimized no matter what speed and lean angle you are, which is just a fantastic feature. This is my favorite corner of the road. It is a long uphill decreasing radius sweeper. Ground clearance feels great. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to take this to a track day to at least do a session or two with it. Would I prefer a true sport bike? Absolutely, but this thing corners amazingly. Something that I always liked about the Multistrada too is that the speed at which you can take corners on the street is just about as fast as you can possibly go on a sport bike without overdoing it and pushing way too hard. And that's what makes the Multistrada such an excellent street bike. It's a little bit of a compromise from a super bike, but not much. Woo! We've got some tight, quick chicane turns here so we can see how the bike feels with quick changes of direction. Like I said, it feels really lightweight. Like that movement is just so much easier. It's so much easier to change directions on this bike. All right, so let's get the complete first impressions of this Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. Now that I've had a chance to open it up on a twisty road and get a feel for how it handles, leaned over, making quick direction changes, I'm just more confirmed in my just feeling that this is the ultimate Multistrada V4, ultimate Multistrada version that Ducati has come out with. And I am a sport bike rider. I am somebody who likes riding the Multistradas of the last 20 years. The 17-inch wheel set makes this bike handle like a sport bike. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a comfortable super bike. And Ducati, with the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak, has returned to their roots with this motorcycle. It is what the V4 Multistrada should have been from the beginning.
Thanks for watching this first ride video on the 2023 Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Can I get a Billy Big Balls cameo in this video? All right. Billy Big Balls, folks.